Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Jason. I'm the founder and CEO of Behind Bars Blueprint, an organization designed to help family members of individuals who are incarcerated and the individuals themselves navigate the incarceration process from beginning to end and even beyond. Today, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people don't think about directly, but I think is very important. It's why rules simply do not change behavior. Let's jump in. So why does Behind Bars Blueprint exist? Well, one way you can put it is rules simply don't work. Now, I don't mean that rules aren't important and that we shouldn't have rules. They just do nothing to change behavior. Facilities have rules, and they should. Probation, parole, they have rules, and they should. But rules do not change behavior. You need something more, something deeper to actually change behavior. Rules just simply tell you what you can and can't do. They don't tell you what you should do and how to do it. So why do rules fail in real life? It can be a number of things. It can be stress, fatigue, failed expectations, and that's a big one. I like to talk about failed expectations because that actually contributes to a tremendous amount more damage in the individual's life and in families than most of us even realize. Everybody was sometimes without even realizing it, you have expectations of almost every facet of your life. Every part of your life, you have some type of expectation. When you go to work, I have the expectation that if I put in a week's worth, I'm going to what? I'm going to get a week's worth of pay. That's an expectation. Guess what happens if your boss comes to you and says, hey, just not in the cards this week, don't have the cash, can't pay you. That's a failed expectation, and it's not one that you're going to take lightly, okay? It's the same thing with everything else in our life. If we have failed expectations, after a while we start thinking, well, what's the point? What's the use? Why work? Why go to work if I'm not going to get paid? Or maybe I'm going to get paid, maybe I'm not going to get paid. It's the same thing here. Failed expectations contribute to a tremendous amount of failure, and a lot of the times it's not necessarily because of the expectation, but it's because of the failed expectation in the viewing of that. And what I mean by that is simply this. Maybe your expectations of what you're viewing are wrong, or maybe they need to be adjusted slightly. We look at things a lot of times in life like we don't stop and think, well, I think this, but am I right? Or is this the best way to go about this, or the best way to think about this? And I want you to think about that very, very clearly and very, very deeply. Sometimes your expectations, and all of us, they're not in the right place. And that sets us up for failure, hence the words failed expectations. So what changes behavior? Well, to continue on, clear expectations. Something that is laid out that is easily understood. Something that is in front of you that you understand what you're supposed to do with this, what this means, and why you're doing it. Repetition is also a way that you can handle all of this. Structure. And again, when you put all of these things together, you start getting yourself a system that actually works, and it works repeatedly. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. You have to start getting your clear expectations implemented through simple routines with a consistent environment, with structured repetition. And again, I'm not trying to make this confusing, because if you put all these together, it makes a lot of sense. Basically, what you're doing is you are doing everything you can to set up your environment, your personal part of the world, where it is somewhat predictable. Where, okay, I know that if I'm consistent, I have clear expectations, I execute daily, I know it's not going to go my way every time, and that's a clear expectation, and that's how you avoid the failed expectations. But I'm going, if I go to work and I do my job, the majority of the time, if not always, I'm going to receive a paycheck. But you have to do what? Well, you have to show up every day. That's being consistent. You have to show up between, this hour and this hour. That's structure, okay? You have to do this repeatedly, okay? That's repetition. And that's what I'm trying to introduce here. This is an example of when you set things up. Again, there may come a time where your boss says, for whatever reason, hey, I can't pay you. And that's when you start looking for another job. But up until that point, you are doing your part to put a system in place that makes sure that you can, for the most part, have clear expectations of what is going on in your world and how you can make that repeatable. So that's how that applies to individuals and their families. But how does this apply to staff, organizations, nonprofits, things like that? Well, it's simple. It's rules without structure. Quite honestly, they're just warnings. They really don't do a whole lot. You can lay down a rule, and I've seen it. Anybody that's been in prison has seen it. Most of the time, that's how you wind up in prison, right? There's a rule, you look at it and say, don't want to obey that, and consequences happen. So rules of themselves are really an individual decision when it comes right down to it. So why do we need them? Well, it's important to have them. You have to have, again, clear expectations. Hey, there's right ways to do things and there's wrong ways to do things. But staff can't enforce chaos. That's why this should matter to facilities and jails and detention centers. Is you can't enforce chaos, and the more rules that are introduced, a lot of times it's more friction. Again, not saying that we don't need rules. We need a system in between and the rule placement and the rule enforcement that maybe make those more consistent, maybe easier to follow, maybe less stress for staff, maybe less encounters for staff. That's all, as far as stability goes, it's a predictable structure, and that's what Behind Bars Blueprint is. It's a predictable structure that can be put in place. And you see, that's what we focus on at Behind Bars Blueprint. We don't pile on more rules. We help people build structure that stays in place when no one's watching. It's something that helps fill those gaps in between the times where a lot of people get lost. It's a system that you can put in place individually. You can send it to a family member. A facility can provide it for their inmates. Different organizations, nonprofits, volunteers, programs, whatever you want to call it, they can all use this. It's very light. There is no tech involved in this. It's something that can be used. And then once the inmate, the participant fills this out and fills these particular whatever, again, there's multiple phases of this, whatever book that they're in at the time, once they fill that out, they can keep that and use it as a reference guide. It's a table of contents in the front. If they're having an issue on something or they forget how to do something, just go to the table of contents, flip to that section and go back over what they did and what they learned. Helps them remember. So again, it's not more rules. It's a system that you can put in place that helps build structure even when no one's watching. So I hope this has been helpful, guys. Rules matter, but rules alone don't change behavior. It's something where your structure does. Structure changes behavior. Repeated structure, consistent structure, day-to-day work on something, not a gap between this class and this class. And that's what Behind Bars Blueprint does. So again, I hope this has been helpful. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the section below. You know how to do all that. You can also send me an email. You can get on our website, www.behindbarsblueprint.com. All the contact information is there as well. So if you have any particular questions or something private you want to ask, please feel free to get on there and send me a message, because we respond to everything. We check everything because, again, we want to help. So again, I hope this has been helpful, guys. If you don't mind, leave a like, subscribe, share this with somebody that you think might be able to use it and put it into practice, because again, I think it's something that's very important that a lot of times we don't think about. So again, subscribe, guys. It really does help the channel. And until next time, keep the faith, stay strong.